Hello, you lovely ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mangs, and today I welcome you guys back to another Advanced Wars replay. Yes, you guys asked for more of these with my brand new setup and some StarCraft music in the background, and that's exactly what you're getting. So crack open your monster and get comfortable, because this is an absolute banger, as DJs would say. A really entertaining match, maybe one of the most entertaining matches I've ever played. This is from the Global League, and perceptive viewers may notice that I got matched up against my arch nemesis, King Arthur, the guy I can never seem to beat him. You know, I played like 20 games against him, and he always manages to pull one over me. It's so annoying. But I matched up with him on the Global League. I think it was the first time, and I sent him a message, and I was like, "Hey, man. We're up against each other next on Caustic Finale, which is my favorite Advanced Wars map of all time. I love this map so much. I think it's the greatest map ever created. There's never a boring match on Caustic Finale, no matter what. Like, all my matches have been total bangers, and this one may just be the most banging of them all. I love this map. It is so action-packed. It's a mixed-based map with action taking place in so many places. The fronts can switch on a dime. There's like 5 or 6 different engagements on, taking place at all time. It's a really entertaining match. And on top of that, we have a very unusual matchup in Tier 3. So prior to this match starting, I sent King Arthur a DM, and I was like, "Hey man, can we agree on a no Kindle? Because Kindle is pretty good in Tier 3 on Caustic, and usually most matches become Kindle mirrors, which I don't like playing Kindle. I don't like playing against Kindle. I think she's a boring CO to play against." So I was like, "Hey man, we ban Kindle, but we pick another CO." And I thought it was going to be a Drake mirror for sure. That's what I thought for sure. But to my surprise, King Arthur actually picked Lash. And that's very interesting, because Lash is kind of like the trash pick of Tier 3. You almost never see her. She's just not very strong. She's in this weird place where she's too strong for Tier 4, but she's too weak for Tier 3. So she's kind of like Tier 3.5. So I have no idea why we just got cowboy music. We're just going to have to deal with it. So, the matchup is Drake versus Lash, and again, I think this is maybe the first time I've actually played this matchup on the Global League, because again, Lash is so rare, you almost never see her. So obviously I picked Drake because he's fantastic on Caustic Finale. I mean, just look at this map, there's no airports, there's tons of bases, so global damage is wonderful. The rain will really screw your opponent over because there's lots of forests and plains. But you may notice that King Arthur picked Lash, and what does Lash do with her powers? Well, she ignores weather, well, except snow. She still gets slowed down by snow, so she gets countered by Olaf, but she actually ignores rain when she pops her terrain and prime tactics. Of course, she still takes the global damage, but she can walk freely through the rain. I wouldn't go as far as to say that Lash is like a counter to Drake, but being able to negate the movement penalty of his Typhoon is actually pretty huge, and you'll see here in this match just how consequential it ended up being. I would still say that Drake has the advantage on this map, because global damage is just so strong, and there's no air units for him to actually, like, he won't experience the negative aspects of his day-to-day. But that being said, Lash is still pretty strong on Caustic Finale, because there's a lot of terrain here for her to utilize. If we take a look at the map right here, we can see that, you know, tons of forests, mountains. Whenever she pops her powers, her infantry can dart over rivers. It's actually pretty insane. So this matchup actually ended up being a lot tougher than I thought. I personally thought, like, this is the day I beat King Arthur. Like, I just beat him in 10 days, like one Typhoon and boom. But no, that was actually, the match ended up being a lot longer, and well, I'm not going to spoil the end results, but definitely watch until the end. It was an absolute insane match. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin. Perfect music timing. Let us go. So, obviously, first few days, we're just going to see infantry. Although I will say that on the first few days of Caustic Finale, there is already a lot of decision making, because obviously you go for the bases first. That's not, you know, that's a pretty self-explanatory move. But it really depends on which areas the players wants to focus on. Deidris did a very good map video analysis of Caustic Finale, which I'll link in the video description, where he talks about the different fronts and where to focus. But most of the time on Caustic Finale, you'll usually end up capturing your comm towers, and then you just don't fight over this corner at all. Most engagements will take place somewhere along... Oh, sorry, I moved the screen. That was actually not intentional. There we go. And most of the time, the battles will usually take place around the area in the northeasts, the northeasts and the area around here in the wests. So that's usually where most of the battles will take place, but mostly it's the player who attacks first who will dictate where the aggression is taking place, unless he suddenly decides to shift things up. But you'll see what happens here in a little bit. So I go for my cities, I go for my bases, nothing unusual here, both players just capturing. So King Arthur goes for the northwestern properties up here in the corner, and it really depends whether or not, or let's put it this way, Caustic Finale, it really depends on whether or not players open up artillery or not. Because if you open up artillery on Caustic Finale, then you can use the artillery to lock these rivers. Very powerful to have artillery in the corners here. You can completely lock the opposing player out of taking your cities. Just a single well-placed artillery on Caustic Finale can guard against pretty much anything, as long as you have a couple of infantry to guard it, obviously. Tanks are not going to cut it. You probably need a medium tank or something like that to blast through there. So if both players decide to open up artillery, you can get a bit more of a stally match, but I've also seen many matches on this map where both players just go tanks immediately, and it just becomes a slugfest right off the get-go. So again, King Arthur is going for his corner base right there, or corner properties, and he's also going towards the comm tower. Both players will pretty much just send an infantry towards the comm tower, cap it, and then just stay there. So D5 rolls in, and I continue capping my properties. I too go for my corner base, and I have to respond with a tank here because King Arthur has his tank here. So this is pretty common. The second player usually will end up building a tank on this base, and then you have to respond with a tank here. If you don't, then what he can do is he can move his tank into this corner property, take out the infantry capping the comm tower, and then suddenly you might find yourself in a very nasty position where you don't have your comm tower, but your opponent have their comm tower. We saw that in the Grandmasters tournament when we saw a Javier mirror match. I think it was between, was it Inkugark versus Raka, I think, where they both played Javier, where Raka was just able to take the comm tower and deny Inkugark his, and he just won the map. Obviously, that was a Javier mirror match, so, you know, denying comm towers when playing against or as Javier is a pretty big deal. But it can happen here, too. You definitely don't want to be behind the comm tower, but I wouldn't say it's a very contested property, all things considered. So King Arthur moves his tank into the center, pretty smart. That means that basically this tank can go in 2 different directions, or 3 different directions, really, if he wants to. I mean, or 4. like this tank here can go here, it can go down here, it can go up to the right, it can go down to the right. Like this tank is kind of like he's developing a chess piece on the board. If you play chess, it's all about taking the center. You know, when a piece is in the center, it can go every which way. Same thing with this tank. This tank is very flexible. Meanwhile, my tank is stuck on the left side screen here. It's kind of forced to just respond to this tank. So right now, King Arthur has the initiative, and he pretty much will dictate where the battles will take place early on this match. And he does go for an artillery. So when I saw this artillery, I was like, okay, he's gonna plunk that down here in the bottom right corner, and he is pretty much just going to lock me out of taking these properties. So that means that I have to either match him and build an artillery of my own, or I have to push my aggression elsewhere on the map. So here, I start capturing the other cities. There's a lot of properties to capture on Caustic Finale. It takes a while. I just had to build a tank up here in the right corner. I just had to place a little bit of pressure. Of course, he can very easily respond with a tank of his own. So this tank, it's probably just going to be met with a tank, but I still wanted to get some control of this area, because if you lose these 2 properties on the left-hand side here, it can be very difficult to take them back. So you want to make sure that your opponent doesn't take them. Here I go for the property right here. I'm up against Lash, so whenever I go up against her infantry capping properties, they get that 30% firepower boost. So Lash is pretty strong in the capture phase. I'm definitely playing at a disadvantage in that regard. So day 7 rolls in. Let's see what King Arthur does. He captures his properties. He finishes capturing his property down in the corner here. Takes his harbor. And he also goes for this property right here, which I thought was kind of weird. So when you play Caustic Finale, you really don't want to overextend. You really need to understand which properties are on your side of the map and which properties are on the side of your opponent. And usually in Caustic Finale, you get punished pretty hard for being greedy. This property right here is very easy for me to defend, and the reason is, if you look at this base and you count the tiles, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any tanks that I build out of this base can reinforce immediately and strike this city on the next opposing turn. So it's very hard for King Arthur to take this city away from me. Of course, he can try, but it's probably not going to work out too well for him, especially not when he's committing an artillery down here in the corner. If he sends his artillery up, then maybe he can get something done, but it's quite obvious where he plans to place this artillery. So when I see this, I'm just going to respond with a tank of my own, and it's going to be very hard for King Arthur to take the city, but maybe he's just interested in trying to delay me from getting it for as long as possible. Now here, he responds with a tank to my tank, so again, we already kind of have two fronts developing right here, which is pretty normal on Caustic Canal, which is why I love the map so much. You can't really just focus everything in the center. Like, you need to spread your forces out. And he's also sending a lot of infantry over to this island. Of course, I don't have an artillery here. He does. So I will be harder pressed to take this island away from him. He moves his tank over to the right-hand side, so already he's kind of telling me that he's not interested in holding on to this. He still keeps his tank within range, but it seems like he's more interested in taking the battle over on the right-hand side. And you'll see what happens in a bit. I had a very funny response to that aggression, which I'll show you very soon. So, my turn rolls in, I go for my comm tower, I finish capping some cities. So far, we're doing pretty equally in terms of the capture game. But I move a lot of infantry up here because I see that he's moved 4 infantry over to the island. So, I want to respond to that. I now outnumber him. Of course, he has a better defensive position with the rivers and the cities. So, but basically, I'm telling him, okay, if you want to try and take these cities away from me, you're gonna get some resistance here. I may not have an artillery, but I outnumber you with infantry. So, back off. I move in. I try to grab as many forest tiles as I can, not just for the defense, but I want to prevent him from getting them, because that's a 20% firepower increase to Lash, so I want to try and deny her as much terrain as possible. That is very crucial. I take a shot at King Arthur's infantry, and I immediately follow it up with another tank, and this is why it's so strong. Of course, the forest here kind of does block me off a little bit, so if he goes and strikes my tank, and if he strikes it from this tile right here, then I won't be able to attack him back. So maybe not such a bad idea from King Arthur. Let's see what he ends up doing. Here I decides to go for a very ambitious cap up in the top right corner here. I definitely don't think he's going to let me get those. It's been a couple of weeks since we played this game, so I don't remember it completely in my mind. I don't remember every move I made. So some of these moves might surprise even myself, even though it's my game. I go for another tank right here. We're going to get a lot of fights up in the top right. That seems to be where the aggression is going to be centered here. So he goes for his comm tower, and yeah, indeed, he does move. So this is interesting. So he decided to actually strike me from the city to get that 30% firepower boost. That will allow me to hit his tank with my tank. He could have attacked from here. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I would actually not be able to strike him back. So I do wonder if King Arthur maybe would have been better off attacking me from the plains tile right here instead of going for the cities. He would have reduced his firepower by 20%, but he would have gotten essentially a free hit off. Now I will be able to attack him back, and I have 2 tanks to his 1, so I will win that engagement. So I don't know, maybe it would have been better for him to just take the free hit rather than be cutesy and go for the city. So here we go. He takes out my... I don't really know why I started capping there. Like, honestly, that's a Manx infantry right there. That's a bit of a cardinal sin left behind. Degis would be upset, I think, if he saw that. So I need to not do that. Like, the suicide infantry capping, it doesn't serve any purpose. Like, it just gives him free hits. However, he is moving in on the island, and he is taking many shots against my infantry, so this is going to be a slugfest. And he builds another tank, moves in with more infantry, and now it is my turn. Day 8 rolls in. I finish capping my comm tower, and here comes my tank. And as you can see, pretty decent engagement from me. King Arthur can't reinforce this city like I can. So, yeah, I mean, I took down his tank, he took out a little bit of my tank. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty even trade. So, there we go. I move in, and I think I definitely have the best position here up in the top left. Like, I have all the terrain, I have the city. He's on the offensive, so he's definitely going to lose this if he keeps pushing. He needs a tank or an artillery or something like that. You know, I get some nice hits off his infantry. Again, King Arthur is also moving. Like, this property that he's capturing right here, this belongs to me. He's trying to take 2 of my cities away from me here. And this is not going to really go that well for him if he keeps pushing. So these forests right here that are positioned underneath his base, they block off any reinforcing tanks from here, which is another reason why I love Caustic Finale. It's very well designed in where the forests are placed. As you can see, it favors certain players have certain favorable engagement angles. I definitely am fighting a lot stronger on this side because, again, King Arthur has these two forests that are preventing him from reinforcing immediately, whereas I have the ability to send my tanks straight into the battle. So he will be at a great disadvantage here trying to take that property away from me. It's not going to be a winning strategy for him. Even if he is Lash and has a slightly better day-to-day to me, it's just not going to work out. So build some more tanks, mostly just going to be a lot of tanks. I decided to get a little cheeky again and capture here. The reason why is because there's no good reason. This was just a stupid move. I don't know why I keep doing this. I don't know. It's stupid. I don't know why I get like this sometimes. The suicide capping is like, it's a bad habit I really need to do away with. So, King Arthur, he does have the artillery on the island. As you can see, I'm committing like 0 forces down here because the moment I saw this artillery, I knew that he would have a lock on this island right here. There's no way I'm getting past this. I'll need like a medium tank, and even then, a medium tank does not one-shot an infantry on a city, not unless I combine it with some global damage. So, yeah, not gonna come true here. It's not gonna happen. So he moves back again, combines infantry together. He's being strangely aggressive here, which is kind of interesting. He's holding on to that city for dear life, and he's moving up to the top right here. He's gonna focus everything he has on the right side of the map. He does move his tank in. Oops, sorry. Looks like I pressed autoplay. That's a fun feature, but not one I'm interested in right now. And I don't really know what I was attempting to do with this little infantry wall here. I think I've just been watching too many DJ's videos, and I'm like, I want to make an infantry wall. There's no point in making an infantry wall just for the purpose of making a wall. I mean, if it's not protecting anything, then it serves no purpose, right? So, but finally, I decided to start going for my property here. He can interrupt this if he wants to, but it's not recommended because I have tanks in range here. But so far, I mean, our income is even, so he could certainly try to be cute. But right now, I am going for a lot of the properties that he's been trying to deny me. And I'm not letting up on the aggression in the top left either. As you can see, the infantry are still slugging out here. And I would say that I'm getting the slightly better engagement up there. And I even get a shot on his artillery, which I was pretty happy about. A pretty high roll, too, with an infantry taking 2 HP off it. So, very happy about that. I mean, an 8 HP artillery, it still does its job, but, it has a little bit less bite than it otherwise would. I don't have to fare it as much. So, I was very happy about that luck roll. I don't think he expected me to roll maximum on there. So, in comes the tanks, and I'm just balling up my units here around my infantry. This is a slightly better infantry wall, I would say, because it protects... I mean, not that he would want to attack into this anyway, but as you can see, I'm just balling up my forces here. I'm seeing that he's moving heavily onto the right-hand side here with artillery and infantry. He's going to pressure my HQ side, but it's very easy to defend this side as the green player. Like, the river's really... Like, you can plunk an artillery down on the HQ if you want to. You can place infantry on the bridges. It's just impossible to attack into this. Of course, if he moves up with all of his forces with the artillery, it could maybe be a little bit nasty. I think King Arthur was interested in trying to base block me here. If he can get this artillery, like, up on the city, for example, he can place the artillery in range of my base, and that's going to make it tough for me to do anything. But it's a difficult maneuver to pull off. I don't think he has what it takes to do that. He would need a tank or something to support it with, and right now there's just artillery and infantry there. So day 10 rolls in, and King Arthur commences his attack. He goes for my city, which is not a bad idea. He moves in his artillery as well. That artillery very scary right now. I do need to be cautious. The infantry slugfest up in the top left side continues. They're really going hard at it with each other. And yeah, King Arthur does have a slight income lead right now, and he brings in 2 tanks as well, so the attack is commencing. He's decided to just let me have this city, which I think is smart. You don't want to try and waste too many resources trying to prevent your opponent from getting a city that's essentially theirs to begin with. And he's pulling back in the top left, so I think he's definitely preparing a pincer attack here. He wants to draw my forces down, and then he'll move in with his forces on the top. Either that, or he's preparing to pull his forces to the left to try and defend here, because I got a lot of infantry coming, and 2 tanks as well. So, but yeah, he's doing a good job balling up his tanks. So, my turn rolls in, and I get some cities, luckily. Now I'm actually ahead of him a little bit, and in comes the battleship. Yeah, sorry for not building that up more, but I wasn't sure when it was going to come out. But yeah, as you can see, I'm building the battleship. I saved up last turn I only built infantry. Sadly, this battleship did require me to base skip a little bit, which does put me quite behind in unit count. I only have 1,000 funds left after that battleship, which means that 3 of my bases will not be able to produce this turn. But look at how strong this battleship is right now. Like, what is he going to do down here in the right? What is he going to do? Like, this battleship covers the entire section of the map. He has a big attack moving in here. But attacking into a battleship, and furthermore a Drake battleship. And not only a Drake battleship, it's a Drake battleship on a harbor. Do you have any idea how hard it is to kill a Drake battleship on a harbor? It's 55% extra defense. That's what he gets. 25% from his day-to-day, and then 30% from the harbor itself. This battleship will not die. It can tank artillery shot. It can even tank bombers. Like, he can take a bomber hit and still be fine. You know, it's insane. This battleship will make this attack incredibly rough. So the question is then, what will King Arthur do? Will he just retreat and attack elsewhere? He could move his attack over to the left, or will he continue to smash and try to overpower the battleship? Let us see what he decides to do. So, again, the slugfest continues up in the top left, mostly an infantry battle, but he does have the ability to bring a tank in right now, so I will have to get a tank in as well. And I do, in fact, bring in my tank. I put it on top of the city and I attack his infantry. So there we go. And I too, you know, I prepare my defenses. I put my units on defensive terrain, making it hard for him. And not only that, I mean, if he wants to attack any of my tanks, my battleship covers pretty much all of it right now. So what is he going to do? A smart player would maybe just pull back and decide to fight elsewhere. But King Arthur, I mean, he may be smart. He's also freaking insane. And let's just see what he ends up doing. So again, like, you know, we continue to slug it out here. He gets a good hit on my tank. I think that's a slightly high roll. I mean, actually, no, it's not. It's a Lash tank on a forest. That's essentially a max tank. So yeah, me placing this tank right here on the city, not really a huge fan of that. I mean, I do have a follow-up with this tank. It can come in and get a strike on him, but overall, I wouldn't say it wasn't my finest move. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, King Arthur is pulling back hard on the left-hand side right here. He's decided to focus on the near my HQ, and then he also really wants to prevent me from taking his island, which makes sense, you know. And he doesn't go for the cap, he goes for the hit, and my base is actually kind of in danger right now. So yeah, no, he's definitely committing to the attack. Not really. He seems to be, I mean, he stays within range of my battleship, which is interesting. He pulls his tanks away because they're valuable, but the battleship can still attack infantry, as you can see right here. So he's not completely letting up, but he's gathering his forces. I think at this point, he was definitely contemplating just switching the aggression over to the comm tower side. As you can see right here, he has a lot of tanks, so they can run in, they can strike my infantry, and then he can threaten my comm tower. That's something I need to be very cautious about. Battleship takes a shot. I pull back my tank, and I would say I'm pretty much winning in the top left. Even though he has 2 tanks on the way, my position is a lot better than his, because I control the choke point right now. So it's going to be hard for him to attack into there. So there we go. I move back, use the city to heal up. And I decide to move in with my tank. I place it right here, smack dab in the center of his tank's range, because, again, I have this battleship guarding it. So I'm like, okay, come at me, bro. Come challenge my battleship. And I do the same thing here, and I start capturing these properties as well here. I invested 28,000 into a battleship. I have to take properties in this area. This, like, if I don't capitalize on this battleship, then it's a giant 28k hold on the ground, and that's not going to be good for me. So I move my tanks up. Again, as you can see, there are now 2 main fronts. The right front and the top left front. And that's mostly where the engagements are going to be taking place right now. So day 12 rolls in. King Arthur moves in with his tank, and yeah, he's winning a lot of ground, actually. He's playing pretty well. And here, he did something that was pretty shocking to me, if I'm going to be completely honest. He goes in. He moves in with his tanks. He's like, no, I'm not going to let your battleship zone me out. I am charging straight into you, and that's exactly what he ended up doing. He moves in, takes a shot with his infantry. He goes all out here, ladies and gentlemen. And I was pretty happy when I saw this, because I was like, okay, all right, you want to fight within battleship range? Let's fight within battleship range. I'm happy about that. So yeah, he goes full-on aggressive. And keep in mind, my Typhoon is coming up. And you may think you're fighting well against Drake, but then suddenly, it's like, boom, 20% of your army just gone. And suddenly it's a little harder to fight against Drake. Global damage, pretty damn good. So he moves in with his infantry, and again, it's just, he's making a nice little death bowl in the top left here. It's pretty nice, pretty well played. And he's moving in hard with those tanks. Alright, so my turn. Boom! 90% damage. Oh, so nice. So nice. Love that base damage. I think I have a small chance of one-shotting it with a com tower, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that tank is reduced to 1 HP now. And I get another very good shot in on my tank. And get a good lock roll as well. And I'm feeling very good taking battles within range of my battleship. It's going to be tough for him to do anything here. And I even... Oh, so the reason why I took this engagement was because I want a Typhoon this turn. Normally, this seems like a weird engagement right here. Like, what am I doing? You know, tank into Lash tank on city. Yeah, I wanted to charge my power bar up. I really wanted my global damage this turn because this attack is still scary. And I really want some rain. I really want some global damage. And looks like I get it. There we go. Typhoon rolls in. Boom! Man, that feels so good. I love pressing the button. By the way, person who made Replay Viewer, it would be awesome if you add rain graphics to it. Just saying, it adds a lot. But yeah, look at that. Look at the value that he just lost here. Absolutely terrific. Now, of course, he is Lash, so the movement penalty isn't going to bother him that much, but the global damage still does. And of course, with Lash, she's very dependent on those terrain stars, and as you know, terrain stars gets reduced, or defense terrain star gets reduced when you're low in health. So global damage, very powerful against Lash in that regard. She still gets her firepower bonuses though, of course. So, at this point, I'm thinking, no way King Arthur's going to keep committing to this attack right here. Every turn he commits to this attack, he's going to lose a tank. How the hell can he keep this up? Like, my forces, I mean, he definitely outnumbers me, but I'll still be able to take... Like, I'll still be able to shoot down a tank every turn. There's no way he can keep this up, right? But he pops his prime tactics, and now he can freely move through the rain. He takes a shot. Tank comes in. You know, it's so scary. Like, I would like to say I think Lash is stronger. She's not strong in tier 3, but I definitely think she's a lot stronger on Caustic Finale due to being able to move through those forests. It gives her a lot of mobility, which can be very, very scary and very hard to predict. So again, he's playing really well defensively here, just balling up all of his troops. Comes in with a tank here too. I mean, he can threaten cities, as you can see. And I do believe he ended up taking the city away from me. So that's a nice catch right there. He definitely has an advantage. It's about to be even bigger. So, but no, he keeps moving in. He keeps attacking. He does not let up. He will just take those losses. So, man, I was very shocked. I remember at this point, I was like, what the hell, man? He's just going to go for it. He's just going to go for it. Of course, this turn, he does have his superpower, so it's going to be difficult for me to find good engagements here. Lash gets those double terrain bonuses. On cities, you might as well not attack her. It's like 70% defense. It's insane. But I still get to take down a tank, and blasting open this tank is nice because that opens up the way to his artillery. I build a medium tank because there's a lot of forces coming in on this side, and you know, a medium tank would be very good. I could also move it north, but I think I'm good up here. Like, the global damage, look, it's done such a number on his forces. They're not as scary as they used to be. So again, tanks comes down. I move in my tank as well, placed it on the city, and don't really know why I attacked the 1 HP infantry right here. It's a bit of a weird move. I'm guessing the 7 HP infantry has 4 defense now, being on a forest, so maybe I just felt like getting a freebie. But this sacrifices the infantry, and I need to keep my infantry alive here. So again, I need to be more careful with my infantry when I play. This is a very bad habit that I have, and it's really hurting me. Because every infantry is really valuable in a match like this. You need healthy infantry to capture properties with, and you need shields for your other units, so can't be wasting infantry like this just to get a 1. I'm not happy about that play at all. I really need to evaluate how I treat my infantry. So, but King Arthur, he's exerting a lot of pressure here. This battleship is costing me a lot, not only in funds, but unit count as well, because I had to base skip 3 units to get it. So it was a very, very expensive investment, and he knows that. He knows that he can definitely afford to lose a little bit because I'm still behind due to that battleship, so. But he moves back and he defends pretty well. Now he moves his tanks back. His attack is not going to work, as you can see right here. But he's still, you know, he gets a freebie there. He also moves in. You got to be very careful with Lash because if she moves in with prime tactics, she might just yoink your com tower away from you. So you have to be very cautious when going up against her. Very hard to interrupt her caps. And even moves his tanks over to my com tower. So he wants to try and take that away from me. I cannot let him do that. So, day 14 rolls in. I take another freebie shot with the battleship. And, yeah, I don't really know. It's a bit feisty. I mean, I'm moving outside the range of my battleships. And, yeah, this was not a good move. I don't know what I was thinking here, to be honest. Getting a 4 HP tank is not that big a win. Like, this battleship, at least I should have moved it. If I wanted to do this, I should have moved the battleship down first. Because then it would have actually guarded them. So, yeah, getting kind of cocky here. I don't really know what I was thinking, to be honest. Again, picking up a freebie is not worth losing a tank. It's not even a freebie at that point anymore. It's a expensive bee. I apologize. Ephraim has rubbed off on me. So, yeah. At this point, I'm losing properties, and I'm losing them pretty quickly, and it's starting to become a problem. He's getting this property away from me. He's going to have a 22,000 to 17,000 income gap, and that is bad news for me. Global damage may be strong, but it's not going to help you if you're like 30 to 40% behind in income. That all it's going to do at that point is just equalize the playing field. So, yeah, and this really bad move on my end. I don't know why I did that. That was so incredibly stupid. I had a good position up here, and I threw away a tank for nothing. So, and now he's really pressing his attack up in the, oh, he's even going for the hit here, which is kind of interesting. His units are starting to run out of fuel now, so he needs to be careful, but this is a good position for Lash to be in. So many mountains. Lash infantry and mountains, oh, they're so terrifying. 40% extra firepower, and you know, if you pop that power, they become walking nukes. So this is a very good position for Lash to be in. Mountain warfare is like her specialty, so this is not a good position for me to be in. And I'm also like throwing away some units in the top right or bottom right, so that's not great. And I also don't have many infantry in position to actually capitalize on capping these properties. The battleship is providing a lot of cover, but I actually need to move it down now. So again, King Arthur withdraws back to his comp tower. I was forced to move a medium tank all the way down here to ward away the tanks, and that's actually really good because that's 16k that I'm using just to chase away units. It's not being up here taking shots where it needs to be. So King Arthur did a very good diversionary tactics here where he drew down a medium tank, and now that medium tank is not up here in time to defend, and he has 2 artillery here. It's so scary. That is a terrifying thing to deal with. So my turn comes in, and I move down the battleship, so now I cover a very good portion of ground. I wouldn't actually have covered the area around the city, but yeah, now this battleship is essentially locking down this entire corner, and the idea is that I try to get these 3 cities, and maybe this city over on this side as well. That's 4,000 extra income that I can snatch up, so that's what I need to focus on right now, so I move in for the capture. Again, not a big fan of this move again. I'm placing my infantry in a river where it can just be picked off, but I guess I thought I was safe because of the battleship. Not really sure what I'm doing with these 2 infantry. They need to get... I mean, I guess I'm moving it down here to get capped, but I'm not really sure why I'm moving towards this property. I should move it south. I have properties that I need to capture here. But preparing a lot of artillery. I'm moving my tank over here as well. This is another weird move. I'm not entirely sure why I did this. Again, this is just a blunder on my god, I blunder a lot in this match. Like, yeah, placing a tank in range of his tank. That's just a freebie for him, so I'm not really sure why I did that. The forest is not going to equalize that. You need a city to equalize it. The forest is not going to cut it. Especially not against the Lash tank, which has that 10% bonus on planes. So, yeah, that's a bad move on my end. Just not a good play at all. I do still have a pretty good defensive position. I wish, like, imagine if I could have this medium tank on this city. I mean, he does have 2 artillery, but the medium tank could have smashed through this 8 HP tank, and I could have moved in another tank to follow it up with. So, combine my tanks together there because I need some punching power here. I need healthy units to punch through his low HP units. So, day 16 rolls in, and let's see what he does. Yeah, he just goes in. He doesn't want to let me get those properties, and he's so good at denying those caps. He knows he's going to take great losses every turn, but at the end of the day, the battleship can only shoot on 1 unit per turn. It's a good unit, it hits hard, but look at all the units he has down here. Like, what am I going to do against this? He even starts capturing this city over here. He gets the free hit over here, which is really bad for me. I can't afford to take these free hits right now. He moves in his tank, creates a good wall, and now he's threatening another one of my properties. So again, he's just exerting pressure everywhere. Again, that battleship that I created, as fun as it's been to use, it's costing me too much in terms of map control right now. So day 16 rolls in, and boom, I take down the artillery, I move in, you know, I go on the counter-offensive. I feel pretty good with this battleship backing me up. But I need more units. The battleship alone isn't going to work. I move in with my medium tank, and I get a good shot. I have to interrupt the cap. I was contemplating going for this infantry and taking down the artillery, but the problem is he has his 2nd artillery in range. Artillery becomes so much exponentially stronger when they are within range of each other. These 2 artillery guarding each other perfectly right now, which is incredibly clever. So it's a good move. I am moving in artillery of my own, though, and I'm building another medium tank, so I definitely want to try and ward him away. And the global damage is coming in, ladies and gentlemen, so that is going to make aggression very difficult. So, but I want to try and guard my 1 HP infantry. They're pretty useful for blocking because there's so many choke points here, so I want to try and keep them safe as much as I can. So, King Arthur's turn, he moves his tanks back, and he continues smashing into my forces. He is feeling very confident about this. Yeah, sure, he's gonna take losses, but he's pounding me pretty hard. So this is a tricky situation for me to be in. Even takes a shot on my battleship trying to do some lock damage to it, but doesn't roll high enough. So he gets a good shot off my medium tank. I paid pretty heavy. I paid a pretty heavy price to try and interrupt that cap. And he brings in another tank. So again, really just utilizing that day-to-day really well. I mean, this is such a good engagement for Lash to take. She gets those firepower bonuses every single engagement she makes. Really hard for me to do anything in this situation. So once again, he's clumping up his units because he knows the global damage is coming. And whenever global damage is coming, there's strength in numbers. But look at that, a freaking rocket. Now, what does he build a rocket? Well, what can Lash do? Well, she can pop her superpower. And what can that rocket do then? Yoing. Just blaze across the plains like it's nothing. Rockets are very hard to get into position, especially on Caustic. Like, it moves 2 per turn. But whenever he pops his power, he can get it straight into this forest, and that's exactly what he's planning doing next turn. So really good move by King Arthur. He's utilizing Lash perfectly in this matchup, really taking advantage of her powers. So my turn comes in, boom, second Typhoon, washes over his troops. This is difficult to deal with. Like, look at his attack. Suddenly it's not looking so scary anymore, and his attack down in the right corner as well. And I take down another tank. And I clean up the low HP unit, and now I'm applying pressure to the cities. Again, this is... I don't know why I'm moving my infantry to the left. I really don't understand. I'm not taking these properties away from him. These infantry need to move south ASAP. Like, I can't believe I didn't move them like that. So, but here comes my attack, and yeah, I am moving into artillery range, which is before a Lash power. But the reason why I felt confident doing that is these artillery are on shoals and plains, so they're not going to get a big boost from his prime tactics. That's why I figured I could do this. But it's still going to hurt quite a bit. I also thought that this artillery would be safe, but if I remember correctly, I do think he takes it out. So, prime tactics is a very scary power. It combines offense, defense, and very good mobility. Lash is still not a great tier 3 CO, but in this map, the way King Arthur is playing her, man, I actually think she's a lot better than people give her credit for in Caustic. So, day 18 rolls in, and it's time for King Arthur's counterattack. And here comes the prime tactics. Rain, don't care. I can move through it just fine. And, ugh, that hurts. That is nasty. And look at that. He's darting over those mountains with those Lash infantry, and he gets the rocket into a perfect position. There's no way I'm going to dislodge that rocket on this city right now. I mean, just look at this. This is incredible. So, he moves in. And again, he clumps his forces up into a death ball, making it really hard for me to do anything. And he also comes in with his tanks right here. And he combines his artillery. I mean, this is incredible. He's playing so well right now. He's utilizing his powers to the perfect, to their utmost. And now he's even threatening my comm tower as well. So this is scary stuff, ladies and gentlemen. What am I going to do against this? All my units are injured too. It's like he used global damage against me. So, my turn rolls in. I have to move the battleship back because this artillery, I could attack it, but it wouldn't do any damage because it's a Lash artillery on a city with prime tactics subs. What am I going to do against this? I have to move out of its range. So, it's, again, he managed to stall my battleship for a turn with his powers. So, excellent way, like, really, like, King Arthur always takes every little advantage that he can out of his CO, and it's really cool to see. So, it's time. Now he's commencing a very scary attack on the left-hand side right here, just as the Surg music kicks in right here. And I'm once again, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I keep doing this. I'm not going to get the city. Like, he has so many units in range to interrupt it. Like, there's no point. And this is definitely something I need to take away from this match. I need to stop throwing my infantry into the blender. But I have to defend myself now. The battleship may be strong, but it's not gonna win the day for me. I need other units to protect myself. So, in comes the rocket. That rocket just keeps getting more and more scary, and there's nothing I can do to really dislodge it, and it's going to be in range of my base soon, and that's very, very nasty. So, in comes the, he pulls back to his cities beautifully, you know, he takes up defensive positions, he moves out of range of my battleship, once again forcing me to move it and not attack with it. He even does a join cap here, which is pretty smart. He's already ahead. He can afford to throw away some numbers to get that base. Every base that he takes away from me is such a big deal right now because I'm so much down in income. So this is, I'm really, like, I'm fighting from behind now. Again, even though I have a battleship. So, get a shot on the infantry doesn't really do anything. yeah, if I move the battleship down one space, he just traps it again with his artillery. So I need to be careful. And once again, I'm going for the caps, but I don't really have the units to follow it up with. I'm splitting my units out in 2 fronts right here, so I'm not really going to be able to get it. I am able to interrupt his cap, and I'm also applying pressure to this property right here now, but I think I'm spreading my forces a little bit too thin here. I'm trying to do too many things at once. And yeah, this move right here, I don't really know what I was thinking here. The medium tank can't reach me, but I'm still placing my medium tank in range of a rocket, which I do have this mech that can, I think my idea was that, you know, I'm going to place this artillery right here, forcing the rocket to either move or attack, and if it attacks, then it either has to strike the artillery and take the medium tank and the mech, or it has to strike the medium tank and take the artillery. But it's a 7 HP artillery, so it's not really that scary. So I move up with my infantry. Both of my 2 fronts are not really faring so well right now. And also, honestly, probably should have interrupted this cap rather than attacking the infantry on the shoal, because the cap is more important. And yeah, oof, it's not good. It's not good. That medium tank is protecting his rockets so well right now. He gets a couple of bad luck rolls, which is kind of funny. But once again, like, his position is really good right here. And yeah, he's just gobbling up my infantry one by one. These infantry are... they're being pounded so hard, and they're too spread out, and they're not protected, and I'm placing them in range of too many units. So King Arthur knows that he's winning here. All he needs to really do is just hold out. Like, or he needs to just, like, time actually favors him now. And it's a weird position, because when you're playing Drake, normally your opponent's on the clock, because global damage gets stronger as the match progresses. But in King Arthur's case, he's so far ahead in income that time is actually on his side. Every turn that goes by, he has a bigger advantage in income, and that just going to translate into a bigger army for him. So I'm on the clock, and I need to do something, or else I'm going to lose. And that's normally not a situation you're in as Drake, which is kind of odd. But again, I blame the battleship, really. It's definitely earned itself in value-wise, but the map control that it just cost me is also pretty significant. And here, yeah... I don't know what I was thinking here. This is honestly a little embarrassing to watch. I thought I played a lot better in this match, but yeah. Right now, as you can see, he is just kind of rolling over me, and at this point, it really is lost. I do believe I kept playing for a little bit more, but I thought maybe I could equalize this with the battleship. I mean, the battleship is almost running out of ammo now, which is pretty hilarious. And, I'm defending. I'm defending pretty valiantly with the battleship. But the attack that he has up in the top left side here is just really incredible. And also, he can now afford building medium tanks, or neo-tanks. I cannot. I cannot build neo-tanks. So I'm kind of just abandoning this position right here. I realized that this rocket is going to be in range of my base next turn, so I'm kind of just abandoning ship. And in a last-ditch attempt to try and, like, equalize the playing field, I am now doing a pincer attack on his main base, or his area with the 2 bases, so, or in his southern base, I should say. So I'm just kind of saying, okay, you know what, you can have that base. But the only problem is I'm going to lose 2 more properties for this, and I'm going to go down to 15k, which is not a good position to be in. But I was like, okay, I have a battleship still. I'm going to try and actually make something happen with it. So I decided to gather my forces together and go for like one last all-in attack, just trying to wrestle some bases away from him. Maybe I can actually do something. He also gets a really good shot on me here with this infantry, which is not good. Again, battleship gets another shot, but it's an infantry. At least I'm starting to capture some properties in this vicinity. And I was also able to get a decent hit on his Neo, although, yeah, no. But I got the Typhoon, so that was kind of what I was going for here. Boom. I thought to myself, maybe this Typhoon will be able to give me the pushing power that I need to move into his base. We'll see if I can make it happen or not. I got some pretty good engagements over here, to be fair. And I keep building infantry in this base just to stall him for the most part. We'll see if I can actually make something happen with it. I move in with my 1 HP tank, and I move in here. Build some more tanks. Again, I'm just focusing everything I have on the south now. I'm just completely resigning that base, but in comes the prime tactic. It's always so well positioned. It's like right after my global damage, he always gets it just on time to ignore that movement penalty. And he moves in, and he's beating back this attack pretty well, as you can see. Yeah, just rolling over my forces, blocks my base with a rocket. That's asserting dominance right here, and he's also able to interrupt many of my captures down in the right-hand side. So at this point, yeah, I resign. because at this point, what can I really do? So, yeah, I played a lot worse in this match than what I remember, but looking back on it, I see a lot of really bad moves. I was definitely way too cocky with my infantry, spread myself too thin. The battleship, I think, could have been a good move, but I needed to play properly after getting it. But King Arthur maneuvered around that battleship perfectly. You know, he kept tricking me into thinking that he was going to attack. He moved tanks in. He actually sacked tanks. He did a tank gambit. But meanwhile, he pushed up in the top left and just won via properties. Like, when you're that far behind in income, there's no way a battleship is going to equalize the playing field. But a really entertaining match. I always enjoy my matches against King Arthur. So much fun to play. He's such a little bastard. Like, the way he plays, he's so annoying to play against. I don't know what it is. Like, every time I play against him, I get angry. But then I also have fun. So it's kind of like angry fun, you know? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know if you enjoyed this replay commentary. Let me know if you have any feedback, anything you'd like to make it different, make it better. Always on the lookout for more improvements to my style. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.